There was such an amazing response last year when we did the 2022 awards for brands demonstrating excellence that we knew we wanted to come back again to talk about a number of these categories, what's changed since then, and of course, looking forward to 2024. It has been quite a past 12 months, and it's always good to kind of look back and figure out some of these trending topics and highlighting some of those people or some of those concepts that either did really well or of note just to notice in general. Once again, I'm your co-founder, creative and style director of Athleisure Media. So I'm glad to be back with you again. And of course, I'm here with my co-founder.
Paul Farkas, and we're here to talk about brands and also just general trending topics and important things in our lives that deserve recognition of excellence and also maybe some things to avoid in 2024.
So with all of that in mind, some of you are avid listeners or, avid watchers, depending on which way that you're catching us, because it's on the YouTube as well as our podcast network, may find that some of these topics are the same from last year. But just like we know that things that took place in 22 are very different than 2023, you'll get to hear about a couple of nuances. So that's also interesting. And if you're looking for topic points for some type of conversation, whether it's for personal, professional, or anything in between, you might walk away with some nuggets. So we're actually going to kick it off with the political issues. What are you looking at in terms of political issues?
Domestic or abroad, Kimmy?
You can take your choices because I have three that I have selected. So,
Well, unfortunately, it's a mess. Last year was a mess. And we hope for peace, but we hope for stability, both domestic and abroad.
so as he took a very broad scope, I have more granular items that we need to look at. So gun violence is obviously something that has been a major issue across whether we're talking about multi-generational children, et cetera. You think about the Nashville shooting, you think about the Maine shooting, and then today, as of this recording, the Prague University shooting that took place. And so, to Paul's point, which way, domestic or internationally, there is just a gun problem across the globe, and it's definitely something that we all need to be looking at in terms of, the ability of one obtaining certain items, what are the mental implications of that, how can we focus on making sure that these things don't happen. It's definitely a state of affairs that you look at the news and you see all of these things taking place, and it can feel very, very incapacitating. So it's unfortunate, as I do believe that was a topic that I had listed last year, that obviously this is still something that we are still grappling with and trying to understand. And hopefully in 2024, we're going to be able to figure out better things, in that particular topic.
Seems to be going in the wrong direction.
Absolutely. The next thing is the supply chain. I think supply chain issues have always existed, and many may wonder why I consider that a political situation. Um, Kind of because the supply chain also involves various embargoes and different taxations and the amount of quantities that someone may be able to release at specific times for certain locations. Obviously,
Just because when you style things, you want your packages.
that it would be that too, but it would also be people who love their e-bikes, people who love a number of different products that if certain components can't even be made to be shipped to be sent to you, it takes down the whole product, in general. And so the supply chain issue has always been a problem across various verticals, for decades. This is not new. But during the pandemic, we really saw what it meant when something in location A takes place in location C, and to get your product is A, J, K, C, and all these other types of things. And if they don't all come together, there is no product. Thankfully, coming out of the pandemic, things have gotten better, but the supply chain is still at a very stretched point. And so, if you look at that, who knows where that's going to be. That also comes to issues of sustainability. It comes to issues of how do we still make the same products with the same quality with different types of, elements that go into it. And so it's really a big head scratcher that everyone is trying to wrap their minds around so that we can all be secure in knowing that when we shop at our favorite, in person, online, etc., that what we're ordering does arrive within the reasonable time period that one would assume.
What's reasonable?
Well, reasonable would be based on the website. So most of us believe, if, for instance, if you go into a store, unless you're doing something in pre-order, that, oh, it's at this store, I can purchase it. If it says available January 1st, it's there January 1st. But we are in a situation that a person purchases a series of items, a big portion of those items arrive, and this item is on perpetual back order. And then that perpetual back order, you as one individual, okay, but that one individual is like 100 people, 5,000 people. And then eventually these issues do affect small businesses.
Yeah.
If you're a small business and you are contracting another company to assist in producing some of the things that you're doing, if it doesn't get there, people are writing, comments saying, why is this company being whatever? But it's not the company being whatever. They have their third party person that they're trying to get the items to. So, the supply chain continues across verticals to be problematic. And then there are other areas where people have taken this time to figure out how they can shift their product to still get it to you. And only you as the consumer can decide that if that product that's slightly different still has the same expectations that you assumed, when you purchased it.
And the politics are.
The politics lie in sometimes when people decide that they can still get that product made, that maybe they have to shift the locale of where it's made. And they may not be aware that there might be certain embargoes or tariffs or limitations of quantities that one can pull in order to do something. Or by doing that, it increases the price of something because it's coming from that area. So it is something that most of us don't think about when we go to our retailer of choice, online or physical, that in purchasing these items, it's accruing other types of situations that have geopolitical ramifications around it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And my last one in this particular topic is climate change. And we know that we've been talking about climate change ever since fill in the blank. And we also know, if we think about wildfires, for example, we've always heard about like wildfires in Hawaii and in LA, Malibu, and all these different things. But here in New York, interestingly enough, the Canadian wildfires really let us say, oh my gosh, this is very interesting that people have this particular situation that happens, because it's not something necessarily here that we have had to deal with. Skies being bright orange and really dark when it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and having 5, 6, 7 days worth of very problematic breathing situations that took place, regardless of whether you have breathing problems or not. The fact that the wildfires took place a couple weeks later here in New York, we had certain types of insects that decided to just make themselves known. And a lot of that was due to the shifts and patterns of what was going on. And so we need to make sure that when we're talking about various types of climate situations, that we're not just thinking about it like, oh, it's this designated place over here that really sucks that that happens, but let me go about my day. This year, it really allowed us to see that literally anywhere on the globe can be affected by these particular situations. It's not just the koalas in Australia. It's not just this over here. And how does that affect the wildlife? How does that affect, the parks and the trees and air quality? Like, literally during certain parts of that period of 6 to 7 days in June, mind you, when you're like, yay, it's so nice out, I just want to be outside. People were literally yet again wearing masks at this point, not because necessarily of COVID situations, but literally the ability to be able to breathe, and seeing things in the night sky that we had never seen before, once again, being in New York. And so
What was that in the night sky?
The fact that it was orange. So I'll never forget. So here in New York, like many places, if it's the summertime, the sun's going to be out till like 8 o'clock, and you get that nice dusky at 9 o'clock. I will never forget. It was 5 o'clock. I'll say it was June 8th, because one of our music festivals here in New York literally was wondering if they would be able to launch the next day. And I looked outside, and you would have assumed, for example, that a really big thunderstorm was coming, that it was so dark. But it was dark, and then I looked and saw how orange it was, and it got oranger and oranger. People were taking pictures, and you would have thought it was like our Manhattan hinge that happens, which is basically, there's a very specific street here in New York that the way the buildings line up when the sun sets, it creates this, really interesting effect that we call Manhattan hinge. This orange was like, oh, that's what that is. But instead, the orange was literally oh, it's because of the Canadian fires. And oh, you can't really breathe because it was so
I know
dense and chalky. And so it really makes you think about the
how
climate,
fragile things are.
how fragile it is, that we can't just look at other areas that we've all kind of been trained to think that, oh, Malibu, Maui, Australia, this one, but not here. No, what happens in Canada, it is over top of us, but it's still a number of miles away. And the fact that it was here for days and dense, the airplanes had a hard time flying. Like, it really makes you think about how something in one place really affects the other. And then if we do something on the East Coast, the West Coast is affected, which then affects, in other parts of the world. So, all of these things, whether we're talking about gun violence, whether we're talking about the supply chain, and whether we're talking about climate change, it showcases that what we do as one happens to many, and that there are many reasons behind all of these different intricacies that happen, and how we all need to be involved to make sure we understand as much as we can so that we can affect change on the local level to eventually get to the state level, the national level, international level, and that we all need to hold hands because a
What
tragedy
happens
is a
when people
tragedy.
don't do that at all?
Well, when people don't do that,
How
items
did they
still,
get scolded? Big countries.
things continue to devolve.
Mhm.
And then the fracturing continues to happen. People feel unsafe. It affects your mental health. It affects financial health. It affects all the different situations that you have. And it makes people feel very helpless. And then it creates a state of, well, what does it matter? Because I'm just one voice. Nobody really cares. Like,
Exactly.
and so there's this feeling. And
That's a good lead into the second topic.
and go ahead and let us know.
Pop culture.
Yes.
And I'm saying the post-pandemic blues.
Hmm.
And I feel it's different for everybody. And some people, most of the people I actually encounter say, what pandemic? Was there even one? I guess people that lost people is clearly on their minds every day. And then there's the range in between. So we hope the best for everyone that lost someone still. And then on top of it, we hope people are still safe. And to understand the world is different. And if you have the post pandemic blues, it's okay. And just figure out a way to take a moment, maybe meditate, and get back to it.
Was there anything else in your pop culture?
Nope.
So I'm going to add 3 items to that pop culture. To Paul's statement, the pandemic created shifts, and it created, like he said, everyone took it in a very different way. And as we emerged, and in many cases, a rolling emerge, it also created a sense of wanting to have togetherness and wanting to have these euphoric up moments because we spent a number of years in a very uncertain, very questionable, add all the statements that you want to add to that. And so this year in 2023 were 3 different types of pop culture moments, which I feel probably even if the pandemic hadn't happened.
This is from you, though. I don't know if I could.
This is from me. This is not from Paul.
I'm not necessarily saying there's 3 moments. Let me hear what they are.
I just want to put my emphasis on it. I'm saying that I think that these 3 things would still be big, even if the pandemic hadn't happened. But I think that due to the amount of pressure and just things that happen in our lives, the interest of happy moments and togetherness took these to a whole other level. So I'm going to kick it off with Taylor Swift. Yes, the Taylor Swift concert. Now, there have been some concerts this year, including Beyonce. There's a few other ones, even like festivals that have just been like mega moments.
So you're putting Taylor Swift in pop culture?
I am.
I've heard that before.
She is a pop culture moment. I think it's highly interesting that she's only on the first portion of the tour. So in 2024, she will be continuing her tour. But basically, she did a big portion of the United States, which she will swing back to next year. She also hit South America. Having the venues that she was in, then dropping the movie, which has done exceedingly well. It just recently released on streaming on Prime Video, so it's a whole other different type of audience. And then she also dropped various portions of her album at this period of time.
That part's crazy.
I mean,
The re-singing of the albums is there's new contract law now.
there's new contract law. There is just, she was already a trailblazer as it came to how she approached her music, how she maintained control, and all of these other different types of things. The fact that between her and Beyonce, if you look at the statistical data from it, that many cities that they toured in were able to get even beyond pre-pandemic numbers as it came to hotel stays, restaurants, different types of entertainment situations. Like
The tours gave back too.
And the tours gave back, and they gave back significantly.
Which
So,
is a good standard to do.
and let us put a little bit of an extra asterisk on this. When she dropped the movie, okay, she dropped a movie, but she dropped a movie about her tour where many people who watched this movie were on the tour watching her.
But you got bonuses.
But you got bonuses. But more importantly, SAG strike took place during this time. She was able to work around, you know, there's a whole flow of how a movie is able to come to market, work around it and work outside of the studio and work directly with the movie theaters to broker her deal, which once again is another big, like, holy crap moment.
And popcorn.
And popcorn. This is something that you can do. And then turned around and said,
not that you could do, something she could do.
But maybe there may be another. She's at least giving you the blueprint of
Elvis could do it.
Of what, there you go. So that to me, businesswoman phenomenon, all while doing what she does, loving what she does, and having that passion. And then yet again, what is cool is when Beyonce released her concert on the UK side, she actually attended Beyonce's one. So I love the fact that people supporting people, that you can have two people who literally pretty much at the same time are doing the same thing, taking those dollars, taking that fan joy with all the situations and still doing amazing things. I believe Beyonce is also working on her album while this was going on and put her daughter on there too, who we all agreed that the first couple of weeks that Blue was doing it, it was like, oh, that's really great. But Blue really got serious and said, no, this is what I do. This is who I am. So both of these things were really amazing. Another part in the pop culture movement.
That was moment one.
Yes, it was. Honestly, if you kick ass like that, you deserve an excessive moment. Now, the next one is you look in the sports world. Soccer is something that, you know, has been a big phenomenon, has always been really big in Europe. Here in the United States, in the last like 10, 15, 20 years, we've been, you know, kicking it up, saying, oh yeah, this is something that we appreciate, we enjoy it. And then it went to a whole other level when who joined the MLS.
We're talking about football, right?
That's right. And that would be
I know who did it.
Messi. And once again, it's another version of showcasing how a person who is an icon could have went anywhere in the world, came here, and is assisting in that love and fervor that we can also enjoy and understand what it means to have that type of talent. And also
click with the team quickly, no?
Click with the team quickly. You know, you can't say anything about the fact that he is in Miami with David Beckham's team, bringing all that love, bringing all of that, you know, just being that person that makes people really, really exciting. And so, you know, I think that's amazing. He too has his docuseries that's dropping on Apple, I believe. And so that's something that's really exciting to see. Like, once again, he's toward the end of his career, but he's still showing, look at all these different things that I can do. And I'm just going to sprinkle the dust over in the US. Like, I think that's really cool. And the final moment, once again, it was a really different year. Who knew that a strike would literally stop the way we do a lot of things? Movies shifted. There are some movies and TV series that have decided not to, you know, release themselves until next year, even as late as 2025. So
this is a big one because you're an entertainment junkie.
That's right. So White Lotus, that won't be back until 2025. The Last of Us won't be back until 2025. And various movies basically said either A, we're going to very quickly drop before the strike deadline happens, or we're just going to keep pushing it back, or we're going to drop it and just not have anybody promote it. So you're not watching the red carpets, you're not doing whatever. Barbie, of course, comes in and says, hold my beer, here I am. They pre-did a lot of their coverage.
That was an invasion.
And invasion continues. Not only do they have amazing collaborations and a lot of
cool messaging.
cool messaging. A lot of designers have always done, if you watch Valentino's collections, he has always had hot pink. Like that's happened for the last 8, 9 years. But the way that they went and did it on another level, reflecting a number of different types of Barbies. Obviously the DVD has been out for the last few weeks, but just a week ago, like last weekend, not only did it drop on HBO Max, they dropped the ASL version too at the same time so that everyone can get that experience. There are literally, if you go and do the Google, you'll see it on the YouTube. There are 3 ways to say Barbie. The fact of the inclusivity of this movie and the way it keeps basically re-promoting itself in different forms and in different areas, this phenomenon, everybody wanted to be a Barbie and everybody wanted to be a Ken. So these 2 things are so amazing. Big pop culture moment. Yet again, they did not allow the strike and other types of things that were going on to still stop sharing it. And yet it's still releasing itself as if it's the first time ever. So I think that that's really interesting. And the intersectionality of what that means for commerce and, Greta Gerwig, I can't believe the amazing job that she did with the movie and all the different people that were involved in the music. And like I said, it's just absolutely amazing. So
the strike's over.
And the strike is over. So that's great. It still makes a lot of delays for a lot of things. That's why you're seeing like a lot of our fall shows did not launch during the fall season of September like it normally did. So your favorite shows like Station 19, Grey's Anatomy, these will all start like mid-March, but it's going to allow us to have a very interesting schedule in terms of what these next almost 4 to 6 TV seasons are going to be. Because like I said, The Last of Us, White Lotus, they all played earlier this year. They have to go back into production, get fully edited, and that's 2025 when it's coming out. So what does that mean? I don't know. So we'll all just have to kind of like figure it out. And maybe this time next year, we'll be talking about that in our pop culture segment. So we're going to move on. Do you have another preference of which one you want to go to? So we're going to talk about fitness. Do you have anything you'd like to say about fitness?
Well, I want to talk about the keto diet I've been on all year. I missed January because I had full excuses, and now I went most of the year on keto. I lost a lot of weight, and I sniff a lot of sugary baked goods around people.
He does.
But I recommend it. I think
Not
people
the sniffing.
people shouldn't sleep on the sugar-free snacks, and take a lot of vitamins, liquid IV.
Was there any other?
Yeah, get more fit for next year. So I think while I was supposed to do that last year, I did a little bit, but I'm going to do a ton more next year. So by the end of next year, when I do this again, maybe I might not fit on the screen here.
So to continue with the fitness, this particular part of the trend I'm talking about, we actually did talk about in 2022, online workouts and hybrid memberships. Coming off of the fact that during the pandemic, once again, many people were working out online. And then as they, emerged from the pandemic, there was this whole thing that you could have your on-demand classes as well as your in-studio classes, as well as a live class, because on-demand to live and in-person are all 3 different types of situations. That is still rolling very, very strong. And
It makes sense.
It makes sense.
Customers decided this works for me,
Mhm.
and brands better listen.
And so it's really cool that this is a trend that I think it's just going to continue on. Um, and then the next one is mini workouts, not mini MANY, but MINI. The concept of some people can't do a 45-minute or an hour block all at one time. So they'll break it out into 3 or 4 different types of workouts throughout the day. Not only does it stimulate mind flow, so maybe you kick off the day with 15 or 20 minutes, you take a shower, you go eat, you do a little bit of work, then you go back in to do another workout. So it constantly maybe you can isolate different types of body parts, or maybe you're changing different types of modalities, and it still allows you to get a really great workout, but you're not like, oh, I'm going to kill this big block. And so
you can't do one mini workout every other day.
It's, once again, it's a personal choice. You're always going to have some people that either want to do it all at one time or this particular option, or maybe you do this particular option in a week that's super busy that you're carrying more hours than usual. So if you've always been, I love working out at 6 a.m., but for some reason you can't because you're traveling or whatever, you might dip into this situation. But this is a trend that's increased by about 45 to 55% throughout this year, and people anticipate that it's going to continue on. And so, I'm a big fan of a mini workout situation. I would also say there is a case for mini workout that even if you do a block, 45 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, that in that block you do like different types of modalities. So you're going to do a cardio, you're going to do a stretch, you're going to do this. That would also still fit in the mini workout because it's that rotational that's going on. I think I lean more towards that as opposed to breaking it out throughout the day. But I think it's always about whatever works for you and what your flow is. What do you think?
It makes me say I gotta stack some minis.
He's going to stack some minis. So we are going to continue forward. We're going to talk about luxury lifestyle. What do you have to say about that?
One word, time. Time is the ultimate luxury. No matter what you're doing, you need more time. If it's good, you want more time. If it's bad, you want more time for something else. I don't know, whatever it is. Take time. Don't think about time. Sorry. Luxury number 2, food. Going sugarless this year made me think I need to reevaluate that. So luxury number 2 is food. Luxury number 1 is time, and luxury number 3 is family. So over the holidays, you should really take time, do something more than watching a movie. Maybe play a board game, maybe play some other type of game, but do something fun.
So I have 2 that I've kind of picked. The first one, once again, it came from last year, digital nomad and hotel living. That has definitely been
You could do
something.
mine when you do those.
Hmm?
You could do mine with those.
You can.
Mhm.
A lot of people like the fact that, they can step out, see things in a different way, work on their own schedule, and they love the idea of traveling someplace, living there for 3, 6 weeks, whatever the situation is before switching off to someplace else. They get the benefit of being on their own time while also exploring something, that's different and really being able to immerse themselves, whether that be staying in an Airbnb or being in like an amazing hotel living situation where they have all of their needs in front of them, people cleaning the rooms, doing all these different things. So once again, this is something that this trend is continuing on. I'm sure most of you listening to this have friends that are doing the whole digital nomad experience. And you might be thinking, maybe I should be trying that.
But some do it good. Well, be nice to the staff, make friends with the staff. Some do it poorly. You can't be arrogant about it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, your footprint matters. If you meet some neighbors, you meet some people that work nearby. It's a big plus in your life.
Now, the other luxury lifestyle it's kind of an interesting one. I am not familiar with it at all, but in doing the research before, I came on to talk with you guys, I think it's definitely a trend that I can see in the luxury sector that people will enjoy.
That demonstrates excellence.
And this demonstrates excellence.
And you want to recognize it.
And I would love to recognize this one. This is literally asterisk. Postpartum luxury retreats. So people have children. Most people know that American healthcare is that a person has a baby, they're at the hospital for 2 days.
The baby comes on the tree?
Yeah. Let me tell you what happens.
It's like glamping.
It kind
plus point 2.
It kind of is. That's why it blew my mind. So most people in America, you have 2 days that unless you have like a C-section, you might get a third day, but you have 2 days. In that 2-day time, while you're trying to rest and do your thing, people are coming in, checking in on your baby, showing you, oh, if you want to breastfeed, this is how you do it. Okay, here's this, here's that. Okay, bye, mom, bye, dad. And then it's up to you to go home.
Edutainment is going to be learning on this retreat.
I will tell you. So then you go home. Typically, in the normal situation, you go home and people make sure they call their friends or family that help supplement the stuff so that they can still get a rest, get introduced to their baby, and maybe the grandmother stays for a week or 2 weeks, or you have this whole schedule. The postpartum retreat. Here in New York, we have the Thompson Hotel. The Thompson Hotel is a luxury hotel. They have dedicated series of floors and wings where the mom and dad check in with their child. The hotel for this postpartum retreat has nursing staff that basically will take care of the babies and have them in their little bundles and whatever. And mom and dad are able to be in their hotel room, get all of this luxe experience, go downstairs to the very nice, eateries and have like their little baby moon type of situation while their kids are being taken care of. The moms can then also learn about different like IV drips of postpartum vitamins and different minerals like that and learn about different stuff. If they want to learn, how do I breastfeed? How do I do this? How do I do that? They can learn all these things while also still getting a little bit of a date night. Then they wheel the baby in at the times that the mom and dad want to see the baby. And like it's this whole interesting 5 or 6 days that you can spend to have these different experiences, kind of have like a little bit of come up for air. Of course, you're still going to go home and still have to do all the regular normal stuff, but this postpartum retreat really is an interesting way that the mom is getting pampered a little bit, because usually the mom is leaving the hospital, going home and just laying down and just being like, okay, I just did this thing.
Are your
So
in-laws allowed to go on the postpartum retreat?
I have not seen that. It seems to be moms
I
and
mean, my
dads.
in-laws, I'd be fine with it, but I think most people
I don't think
not like it.
I don't think that that's what that's for, but what is cool is that if you so choose, because everything is about choice, the moms and dads can meet other moms and dads, and
Mhm.
maybe that becomes a little community all of a sudden. So I think this idea of caring for people when they're in a transitional stage that's very, very nuanced, especially if you're a new mom, or maybe you're a mom that you had rainbow situations that took place. And so you finally got to that place, you're able to get a lot of these resources in a very intimate environment in a very luxurious way. I think that this is all about excellence because, like I said, it's a concept that's new to me. We have
I've never heard of it.
we have one here at the Thompson Hotel, which is awesome.
Mhm.
The Thompson Hotel is a part of a larger group. So
How long is a normal retreat?
I believe that a lot of them are 5 or 6 days, but you could also book it for 14 days, and the rates and whatever are all involved in that.
Book a 3-year retreat.
Book a 3 year, but
Wheel it in, wheel baby out.
it's
I
really
got you.
cute that like it's really interesting that when you talk about luxury and finding something that somebody likes, that you can take something so thin and really wrap an experience around that mom, whether it's her first time or her last time, whatever the situation is, if you have the funds to support that and the fact that it's for the mom and dad, it's kind of a cool situation. I kind of liked hearing that. And it was something that I saw that someone did, and I looked at it and I said, oh, I can understand why somebody would do that.
Hmm.
So moving on, we are now going to the beauty awards. Any thoughts?
Facial pore cleansers, wipes in general, I think for grooming, there's been a lot of advances of being able to do things in the middle of days. Non-aluminum deodorant. I don't know.
So I want to kick it off with makeup trends. you know, there's always a makeup trend. People are up on TikTok seeing whatever, or you're seeing like your favorite celebrity makeup artist or your favorite influencer, or whatever the situation is. We are never short of various types of makeup trends, but the ones, even though this is in one bookend, latte makeup, strawberry makeup, and the glazed donut skin makeup, which I actually like to call glass as opposed to glazed donut. Now, Paul's just looking like, wait, what? So for anyone else that's like, wait, what?
Just want to eat it.
The latte makeup basically deals with brown tone neutrals. I know many people felt that Hailey Bieber and a number of other people, oh my gosh, they started this trend. No, this trend's been going on since like the 40s and the 50s. And black and brown girls are very well familiar with this type of trend. But it's really a makeup look that looks good on all skin tones because you get to play for the brown as pertains to you. It comes across really lovely. It's something that can be worn well if you're going out at night or just hitting the gym. I like to think of it as a really popped up neutral. I think it's really beautiful. course, you have the strawberry makeup trend that really allows you to have clean skin, but then showcase your freckles coming through if you have them, or if you use a freckle kit that makes you look like you have freckles and has kind of like that pinkish tone, which gives you that strawberry shortcake effect. And then, of course, the other trend being the glazed donut skin, which I call glass, which is like super, super hydration. All the serums, all the toners, so that you really have this really clean squeakiness, makes your makeup look amazing. Makeup trends are always going to be exciting. These types of trends are always going to be good. And it's really fun to play with them and then layer trend on trend. Starting out with a latte one, moving on to a unicorn one to make something that looks all your own. I think that's really cool. In addition, on hydration, which I'm actually giving the Excellence Award, I am always going to be down for all the trends that involve skincare, that involve slugging, skin milk, and then, of course, shea butter for massive hydration. There's nothing like seeing skin that literally looks like it's so luscious that you just want to lick it. There's something about treating your skin in such a way, not only drinking hydrations, doing all the collagen. Like I have a liquid collagen I enjoy drinking, and all the vitamins and whatever. But when you're doing the slugging, which just once again is putting tons of different steps of the hydration, your skin eventually kicks in and says, well, if this is what it is, this is what it's going to look like. I love that. Looks clean. Your makeup artist will thank you, because in order to make your face look like that, you must be doing a lot, to keep it clean. And the final
Can I get a freckle kit for Christmas?
Yes. Is that what you want? You want to try freckles? Well, maybe next year when we come back, you'll see Paul with freckles. And then the last one is Pantone dropped the color of the year. For those that will be
Can you give me a multiple choice?
Are we really doing that? All right. So the multiple choice says Thistle, Marigold, Peach Fuzz.
Need one more choice.
It's just 3.
Thistle. What color is thistle? Silver.
So in the Crayola box, kids, Thistle is that hyacinth, purpley, that's like a violet that's been greatly reduced, that has gray tonishness.
What's the next one?
Marigold.
Third one?
Peach Fuzz.
Thistle.
And the winner is this year's, which would be for next year, this year's color of the year, as designated by Pantone, that you will see in all of its iterations across every category, is Peach Fuzz. Now, why do we love Peach Fuzz? Peach Fuzz is a fun neutral. It has that apricot-y, peachy element to it. It's going to look bomb in lip glosses. It's going to look bomb in your metallic bronzers and highlighters. You're going to find a ton, like if you're just like, oh, I die for the neutrals, your skims, there's a lot of skims that kind of are very close to that Peach Fuzz color. It complements all skin tones across the spectrum, no matter what it is that you are. You're going to see it in home decor. You're going to see it in cars. If you read Athleisure Mag for our December issue, which drops on the 29th, we will be focused on Peach Fuzz for one of our roundups, more so on the beauty side of things, but you will literally see this color in every iteration. And if you go on Pantone's website, they'll give you the trend reports if that's something that you're interested in. They will also talk about why they derived at the decision that they did. And their colors are also driven by, yes, what was on the runways for spring 24, which would have been earlier this year in September, telling you what would be in stores. But it's also driven by what's the climate of what's going on in pop culture and our lives. Why does this make sense? So I am extremely excited for this Peach Fuzz color, because every now and then Pantone drops a color where I'm just like, but is it really? And what I would also suggest, Pantone's websites or other types of websites that do color matching will actually tell you about complementary colors that would work really well with that color. So if you don't want to completely embody wearing that color all the time or utilizing that color, you can find ways to offset that color. But you will see a lot of Peach Fuzz.
I was just thinking about a Thistle Marigold and Peach Fuzz outfit.
So I think we said everything on the beauty. We're going to actually, I know we talked a little bit about sports before, but that was sports as it pertained to pop culture. We are now looking at sports as it pertains to sports. So, Paul, what is your sports comment?
This is going to be problematic because people disagree, but I think Cap should be pure quarterback for the Jets. I mean, it makes no sense how, if he has the ability to play like I think I saw, then why can't he play? But I guess not today. Other than that, LeBron being his age and what he's putting down is ridiculous. We're seeing great stuff in sports in pretty much every sport. So it's been exciting.
This is true. So my first one is going to be, because I have two. The first one is the in-season tournament for the NBA. We all know that the NBA kicks off generally last week in October, rolls through, April.
Speaking of
Which is what, babe?
The who won the tournament.
Go ahead and share with everyone.
No, I think everyone knows.
Yeah. So the in-season tournament was the first of its kind, and it's an interesting way. When we typically watch the beginning of the season, it's kind of like, yay, we're excited that basketball is back. But it's kind of like, oh, okay. And then you're waiting till Christmas time. Like, I love the Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, all those types of games. And so that beginning first few weeks kind of feels a little like, yeah, we had the preseason games, but you still feel a little bit like you're in preseason. There's something about the light switches on Christmas. And you're like, oh, we're in the thick of it now, because now you're almost at All-Star weekend, and then you're closer to the end of the season, and then it's the whole playoffs. This in-season tournament played at the same time as the regular season, but there were certain games that were designated primarily for the in-season. So it kind of gave just a different type of intensity and something to look forward to. The in-season, like, the end of it was in Las Vegas, which Las Vegas has really become a city where they're like, hey, we can take your F1, we can take basketball. Hey, we'll see you in Super Bowl. Like, they are just killing it with all the destinations and bringing all the fun stuff there.
But aren't you a Lakers and Pacers fan?
I am.
So
it was a tough game. It was a tough game, but I'm still happy with the way the outcome came. So, so in season, what?
No, it's a cool idea.
It was a cool idea. Like, I think, you never want to do something where it's gimmicky and it takes away from the game, but you do want to do certain things that even make the players kind of like, all right, you got something here. Okay, this is kind of cool. This is a little bit different. Like, it took them off their toes, but at the same time, they're still playing the same game, but it's just an interesting, little nuance. And even the way they played the players for certain portions of the tournament was a little bit different because it was for that specific type of the game. The other thing is college athletics in general, ever since the whole nil, and this is given my little excellence asterisk, ever since the nil situation took place and how these collegiate players are now being able to kind of get a sense of what it'll be like when they actually do go pro. Like, you're already making deals now. You're already getting to like make money off of your name and likeness and, broker deals. So it really allows it that being in college, much like when we go to college, so we kind of learn how to be adults, these kids are able to learn how it is to become basketball, whatever moguls that they may be down the road. So I think that's really cool. I also think it's really cool, as another aside, is a lot of the women's athletics that are taking place in college. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've walked by the TV. He's got, volleyball playing for the women's volleyball, games that are going on, and how that's so exciting, and how women's collegiate basketball is so exciting. And to see like really big players, whether they're men or women, that are sitting on the sidelines cheering these people on, because if we want to have that equitable situation going on, we need to do it as young as possible for these people, so that when they go to the pros, this is more of an expected situation and not just like, oh yeah, she's a basketball player, but I'm going over here. Like, we do want things to be, be a little bit more leveled out so that we can enjoy it, because if you love basketball, you love basketball. It shouldn't just be one way or the other. So I think that what's happening on the college level, I think the shifts that are taking place in the conferences. Everyone who knows me knows I went to Indiana University, Big Ten. Big Ten now is going to have USC and all these other types of people, and how strong that's going to make our conference. So I cannot wait until March Madness to see how that goes. There's just so many exciting things that are happening at the collegiate level that are only going to benefit the cities that they're playing in and the schools, you know, obviously that are there. And also ultimately when they go pro or other types of conferences that also start picking up left. And so I think that's amazing. And that's why it gets my check. You have anything to add to that?
Our words aren't checks, but that's terrific.
It gets my check though. We have now entered one of my favorite categories, style. As many of you know, co-founder, creative, and style director of Athleisure Mag, fashion stylist, as well as accessory expert. So I'm going to kick off with a trend that has taken place that I do not support by any stretch of the imagination, but I can appreciate a number of the fashion brands that have lent themselves to it, whether they plan to or not, because I think there are extreme liberties being taken, but it's all dress up, so who cares? I kind of do, but okay. The no pants trend. The no pants trend has a place where it's cool. So before we go into it, it doesn't mean that bottoms are not being worn. It means that someone's wearing like literally a women's version of a boxer, or they're wearing a high panty, or they're wearing a tap pant. And then they'll have like this whole other outfit that's around it. But the proportion, and I love playing with proportion, but there's just no proportion because it's a friggin' panty. Like it just doesn't make sense. And these panties will be like $900, $800, tap pant, whatever. I think that when you're talking about walking the red carpet for the MTV award or going to some other type of thing, or you're Lady Gaga and you're performing on a stage, Madonna, like Madonna was just here in Brooklyn. These things make sense. But the no panty trend of, and I'm not going to say any of the celebrities' names, but you can imagine because we've all seen it in the things. Random celebrity is going into her local Whole Foods store and buying her a sundries and wearing a white tank top with the no panty look with really high heels. And she just got off the subway. I am constantly flummoxed by this. And once again, there are many brands that have these items. I don't think the brands necessarily intended them to be worn this way. I think many of them were runway only, which means you're seeing a designated look that's meant for like oohs and ahs on the runway. And then either it's never made into production or you wear something else around it. But brands like Prada and Dior, they all have the no panties look, but people are wearing it out like normal things. What do you think about that? Are you aware of this trend? Are you surprised about this? All right.
So no pants or no panties?
It's called the no.
The same boat, so that's
Sorry, it's the no pants trend.
That's what I heard. Then I had no panties, no panties.
It's the no pants trend. Well, I'm just so shocked every time I see it, where I'm just like, what is going on? And I would go into more detail,
So
but
what's it called?
it's called the no pants trend.
Did men do it?
Yes, there are men doing it as well. Except for them, 9 times out of 10, it truly is like a boxer, a brief. Like it's truly a banana hammock.
Basically, you want an oversized top.
No, that's the thing. They're not doing an oversized top with it. It's always a very trim.
You gotta be careful.
That's right. Because everybody's things are right and left. It's just very confusing. Reimagine denim. So this is, once again, denim is not new. Denim is always a trend, but it's the ability to see denim presented in a way that is just, wow, atypical. It's latticed as a dress, having different types of embellishments, capelet styles, just different things that make the denim feel more luxurious and over the top.
Custom.
Very custom, but even beyond custom, couture. Because custom, oh, okay, it's handmade, but couture is artisans who made it over X amount of hundreds of hours with embellishments and certain types of silks and different things that you would have never even imagined. It's going into a couture aesthetic. You know, it may not be something that you would see like everywhere, but it's one of those situations where you're like, oh, that particular item is a runway only piece, or that particular item was worn on a runway or at the Met Gala, depending on what the what the topic for that particular year was. But this idea of taking denim to another level, and obviously what you do in the custom or couture section trickles down into what you see on the retail level. So once again, it could be an amazing maxi skirt, but obviously that's nothing new. Denim's always been in a maxi skirt, but maybe it's cut on the bias in a very specific way. Maybe a Japanese raw denim is being utilized that's brushed a certain way so that it breaks it down a little bit. So all of these little details that make it look different than, oh, it's just a regular Levi. Although Levi also has like a really couture version of what it is that they do. So it's really cool to see that denim, which is one of those mainstays of a lot of our wardrobes, can continue to change the imagination in terms of what it means when it's being worn and where it's being worn.
Are they making the Peach Fuzz denim yet?
Yeah, you could have gotten that color. Yeah, I mean, tons of different brands. What you're talking about is colored denim, so you can purchase those things from like Mobby, Abercrombie had them. And that's what makes Peach Fuzz actually really interesting because this is a very common
Diesel
neutral.
never made them. Was that one of the Diesel ones?
I don't know if Diesel did, but AG did.
Mm.
And DL also did. So
Mhm.
it's a little denimology for you of the different things. And the final trend, once again, we kind of mentioned it a little bit in the pop culture section. So we're bringing it into this one. When I was talking about the Barbie movie, and I said, well, the merchandising, but pink as a core part of your color is not new. Valentino's been doing it for years. Barbiecore, Barbiecore. So people are like, what does that mean? Well, yes, it is about hot pink, but it is the pump toe shoes. It is about having the certain types of bags. Like Barbiecore was something, to be fair, before it was called Barbiecore, it was called Power Women Suiting. So during the 2016 election, when women said, hey, we're here and we're not taking this business, and they were wearing what they call the pink meow hats and all those types of things, that was the element of the power woman dressing during the month of March when people wear the hot pink suits that every celebrity is wearing, that a portion of the money goes back to women's causes and various women's care. That's what that was called. Then Barbiecore stepped in and a lot of people kind of shifted it a little bit, but it's still basically the same type of trend. That concept maybe it won't be Barbiecore next year. I think honestly, by the time you hit midsummer, it's pretty much going to wash away. But with the election coming up, that power women's color, that battle cry color that many of us have worn or integrated into other versions of the styles of our clothing are still going to be there. There's something about taking a color like that is quite noticeable, that is extremely girly, but having your power suit lawyer wear it, having someone else wear it that, isn't exactly like the girliest of girls, but they just want to be out there and let their sisterhood know that they're there. I think that's something that what the Barbie core is leaning into. If you think about it, if you take away, there's a lot of sociology around Barbie. Is it good? Is it this? Is it that? And I'm talking about the doll, not the movie. Barbie as a trope really focuses on the fact that there are all these different types of women who can do anything and can be multifaceted. I mean, if you technically think about it and wrote down all of Barbie's jobs, Barbie never stops. Like she's doing this, and this, and she has Ken, but doesn't have Ken. He can stay, he can go, has all the houses, has all the cars. So it's actually something that I think is a pretty powerful thing to align with. And then of course, you start putting the other wrappings around it, then you can have that conversation as you will. But Barbiecore as a trend, whether it goes from couture or just regular retail, this is definitely something that has had a great stay. And regardless of the name change, the hue, that very specific magenta, is going to be something that I can tell you in the next 2 to 5 years will still be something that's, embraced into our wardrobes one way or another.
Mhm.
You think about that.
Cool. Let's talk about travel now.
So we're gonna let Paul say some things because I was really talking on that one.
Well, I just feel that business travel is back. It was coming back the last couple of years, but now to take some additional travel time to do things around those cities would be something to make your life improved and optimized. Maybe you'll learn some things you didn't even know you were looking for. Learning your city is something that we've been doing, even though we're both, or one of us is a lifelong New Yorker, and one of us is a New Yorker. And technically we're learning it every month. So travel is where the heart is.
Couldn't agree more. And I have 3 items I want to highlight. Ready here?
Mm-hmm.
We all know what jet setting is. You know what jet setting is.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know what set jetting is? A really big trend. He's like, I don't know what this is. 45% that it's up is set jetting.
Like someone told me today, if you have to be sighing, what's coming next?
That's right. It's very big someone. So set jetting is,
Shout out to that person.
that's right. Set jetting, which you'll see December 29th. Set jetting is you love White Lotus and you want to go to Italy. You love Paris because of Emily in Paris. You love going to Yellowstone because you love Yellowstone. There is a huge trend that people are watching their favorite movies, TV series, etc., and they are literally booking not only the city, but the exact hotel, eating at the exact restaurant. We are living in a time that the last time this happened was Sex in the City.
It's kind of like Outception.
It's like Outception. So Sex in the City was really the first time that people were just like, oh, every time I'm watching the show, that's a hot restaurant. Manolo Blahniks, this one, this one, and this one. And people were just like, we still have Sex in the City tours, even though now we're in the And Just Like That era. Seinfeld, another one. What's one? Friends. Like these things are places people are like, oh, is there a Central Perk? Well, now there are Central Perks that you can go to that didn't, exist in the last couple of years, but it does now. So set jetting now.
We got it.
Massive trend, but it's happening across so many different types of shows. So a lot of your favorite Netflix shows and this one, people are just calling their travel agent or going on, online things saying, well, where is this? And sleuthing set jetting. The next one is gastro travel. Just like people are picking places to go based on what they watch, they're picking places to go based on types of things they want to eat and restaurants that they saw someone else eat, and they are building an entire trip around being able to hit, I want these particular Michelin restaurants that are in this particular city. I want to go to this particular place for X, Y, and Z. And, the rest of the trip is the rest of the trip, but they want to eat their way through that trip. And in some cases, pick multiple cities that they can go to. So some people are saying, well, I want all of Gordon Ramsay's restaurants. So they're going to all the different places. So it's a really cool trend. And once again, that's up by like 30%. But the fact that people are literally listing, well, I'm doing this for the food, much like the set jetting. And then the final one is kind of related a little bit to when I was talking pop culture, gig tripping. Now, gig tripping is not new. There are people who've been going to music festivals and they're like, oh, I always book my tickets to go to EDC in Brazil and this one and this one. But once again, Beyonce and Taylor Swift not only got it where people were going to the designated concert in their hometown, there were people that were like, I'm going to see 5 of her shows. I got the one in London, the one in Paris, the one here, the one there, and they were bringing groups of people with them. The whole purpose was gig traveling.
I mean, I think that one's been around for decades, but we didn't call it that.
Well, it's now been coined. Well, and you know what? Many people did say, yes,
There's other words for it.
But gig traveling is what it's called. Much like the TikTok trend sometimes when the person's like, and I created it. And they're like, no, honey, that's been around since the 30s. Gig traveling is not new. The term of it is new, but not the concept. I will agree with that.
Okay.
But set jetting, I'm giving my little, because I think that is the coolest thing.
It could be. I was thinking of what about places that try to make a set jet, but without demand and lose out on the you have to know what you're doing. I don't think everything deserves necessarily a milestone.
When you have an immersive show like Emily in Paris, she's literally going, most of the show is set in things that have been around for at least 60 years.
Yeah.
So you're guaranteed that unless something happens.
I mean, I think maybe 20, 30, 50. How many can you do? But anyway, we'll see.
And now, we're getting towards the end of this show, but we still have our final topic. It's wellness. So we're going to let you kick it off.
How do you define wellness in 2023?
Are you asking me? It's
The same as last year? Will it be the same next year?
no, I think it evolves and it changes based on the person who's answering the question.
Yeah, but for each one.
I think we are still wrapping our arms around what it means to what wellness entails and the depth of where it goes. And I think the needs and the demands and the societal pressures also increase
Well,
what wellness means.
yeah, one day you were talking about mental to financial
Right.
wellness. I mean, that's a lot of wellness.
It's a lot of wellness. It's a lot of wellness.
But if you're talking about physical health and wellness,
Mhm.
that's physical health and wellness. So what's your wellness?
What wellness is for me, is obtaining a form of pseudo equilibrium that I can deal with.
Yep, that sounds good. It
That's
sounds good. Sounds manageable and it sounds flexible and it sounds attainable.
and it's
And that's
okay if
what
I don't
wellness
hit
is.
it.
You shouldn't have goals you can't hit.
You shouldn't, but there are times,
Or you should have goals you can't hit.
there's going to be days that you're going to be a rock star at it, and then there's going to be days that you fell very below the line, and you have to be
Consistency.
okay with that.
Yep, yep, yep.
Do you have
Okay.
another part of the wellness?
Yeah, consistency, habit forming, consistency, cutting things out, saying no. That's huge. Saying no. Avoiding things. So, our New Year segment. If you see our New Year segment over the years and who's in the next couple of days, are really cool people.
Mhm.
They talk about what they add, what they want to be happy about, and what they're avoiding. It's wellness.
So I have a few that I want to share. One that's it's a little fringe, but I think it's for the person who's trying to find their way to wellness. And then I have two others that are like slam dunks. So I'm going to do the fringe one first.
This is some gig tripping thing.
I would say it's probably controversial because it's even a topic I don't like. The quiet quitting.
Mm.
Yeah. And on its face, when you initially think about it, oh, this
Should be put in jail.
okay, this person's working, but they're already receding into the background. It is bad for the person who's the employer. I mean, there's just no other way around it. But then when you look at the reasoning behind the quiet quitting, that the person's like, well, maybe I'm still trying to get my ducks in the row. I'm doing whatever, but I'm about to leave. A lot of us have done quiet quitting. He probably has not. I know that I have in previous positions a very long time ago. And when I think about why you were doing that, it wasn't like you could just cut it cold turkey because you needed, whether it be the money or the connections of what was going on, but you also knew it wasn't for you and you were trying to find your footing someplace. Before you get to wellness that you can accept, you also have to know when something doesn't align and something needs to change and then to figure it out. And I think for a lot of people, that quiet quitting is the figuring it out, which is a part of the wellness path, even though it sucks for the people who are left behind or the employer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, now you're talking about wellness of a group too. Wellness of a group. I mean, you should really consider not doing that. Maybe if we get one person to reconsider today, that we did our job.
Oh, and I think honestly, he's right in this country because I can't speak to all the
I
other
mean,
ones.
silent quitting could be with dating too. I mean, if you really think about it, it's not just work. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not any particular thing. It's just being real with the things around you,
Yeah,
and then you'll attract better things too, I think.
I agree with that. So my next one, not controversial, reordering.
Mm.
The ability to look at what's on the table, look at what is going on, and deciding what aligns with you, what works for you, or yes, it does work for me, but I don't need to put the same type of focus on it. Just being able to shift things or
Mhm.
to leave things behind. I think honestly, in the wellness journey, and this is something that you'll do throughout it, because I don't think that you could do one reordering and you're just set for life. I think it's a constant examination. I think that's a really big key one that we all do in various ways. And once again, by the pandemic, there was a lot of forced reordering that people were doing. There's a lot of times sitting at home making sourdough, trying to understand what's the next steps. And now that that particular door has been open, people feel more comfortable with the consistent assessing of what everything means.
Mhm. Mhm.
And my last one, which gets my check.
We don't give out checks. Maybe we will
The
next year.
last one that gets my happy asterisk,
Think
my
about it, Chuck.
circle,
Think about it, Chuck.
my is, we all know I love Hugo. So for the uninitiated, unfamiliar, it is the ability to be warm and cozy, especially when we're in our winter months, that you're able to just stay comfortable within. It's about keeping it quiet, keeping it low key, enjoy your streaming, wear your wool knitted socks, have your hot cocoa with bourbon in it, and live your best life. But there is a new trend that takes elements of that is also as old as that particular trend, and it is called
This'll.
Kojlik. It is Nordic. And much like its sister, it has, which is the Danish sister, it is very much so similar about being cozy, being embraced in the warmth, but it's about being with others as opposed to being alone. It's about going outside. Yes, it's cold, bundle up, we're taking a hike.
Oh, what?
Kojlik. It's about being with others. So if you love having your friends over when it's like a snowy night and you do an epic dinner party, whether you make everything yourself or someone has a potluck, everybody comes over, there's barely enough chairs for all the butts and seats, but you're having the best of times. It's about bouncing the energy off with other people while staying warm and cozy in those nighttime activity or in those darker day type of activities. And it's about getting that energy and getting that excitement from other people. It doesn't mean that you still can't enjoy a jam session that's quieter with the traditional hula, but it's about being with other people and taking it outside, because the other one is more so, oh, stay in your house, put the drapes down and stream. This one's like, no, go out with other people and ideally go outside.
Very cool.
So I think that's like,
once you pronounce it right, you're golden.
and honestly, there's various versions of these around the world. EFPH is the one that's Japanese style, which has more of a minimalist leaning to it. All of these different concepts, as well as being for yourself as a personhood, it is also about how you orient your home and orient your workspace. So it's literally like your Marie Kondoing your life. If you don't know who Marie Kondo is, she basically takes all the things and says, do you truly love it? Does it speak to you? Then you keep it.
Yeah.
If you don't love it and it doesn't speak to you, throw it out.
It's smart.
It's a very smart situation, and it reorganizes things and it allows you to just kind of, keep it moving. So I think that that's something, it's kind of like when it does get into these types of weathers, you're kind of like, oh, it sucks. Like, I don't want to do whatever. But if you finally drag yourself out and go to the movies with like your besties, and then you go out to dinner afterwards in a cozy environment, you had the best time. We just went out to a restaurant a couple nights ago, and it wasn't like cold, but someone like decided to rock a puffer vest and leave his arms out. And so we went to the restaurant,
Bohemian bar.
and
Very tasty.
in Brooklyn, warm, cozy. But then he was like, how are we getting out of here? And I'm like, the same way we got here.
Yeah.
Walk. And so
wasn't prepared. So thanks for joining us on our seasonal VOT3D IO holiday TV show. And we'd like to let you know that we're giving a contest to win some prizes that we're offering for brands that we think demonstrate excellence, in addition to showing more things online that demonstrate excellence as well. And follow through the year for more updates on this, and as well as subscribe to our newsletter.
It's been very exciting to talk about all these things and have Paul share his different concepts. And it's awesome to see how some of the things we talked about before are still very much so on our table and have shifted in the way that things shift when you keep doing it. And it'll be nice to know what we will be talking about next year.